tell you, Jim Holly here with you on this Saturday morning. 29 days in the month of April. The year is still the same, 2018. Once again, we say good morning to you, and we thank you so much. It's about 7 minutes after the hour, and again, we just thank you for being with us. We thought we were going to have some little technical problems, but we worked it out, and so we're just grateful to my engineer for just getting me on the air, and we appreciate that so much. Just want you to know, my sister and brother, if it's just your first time listening to and looking at the program, it is a live talk show. You're welcome to call in. The numbers are right there on your television screen, and you're welcome, as I said, to call in and participate in the discussion. And of course, the numbers are there. And for those of you on by internet, the number, we'll give that number to you in a few minutes as well, so that you might be able to participate regardless to wherever you might be. We just want to thank you so much. You know, people don't have to be nice, and when they are, at least you could do is say thank you. And certainly we want to make sure that we express our thanks for your support of WHPR down through the years. We've been with a lot of work that's been done in terms of trying to move the station to another level. And certainly we should be able to do that and let you know more about that later on in maybe in a few days, if not in a few hours. But want you to know, my sisters and brothers, that everything has been done and because of your support. If it wasn't for you, there'd be no us. And for that, we just want you to know that we come and say it every Saturday morning to let you know that indeed that we appreciate you. You just don't have to do the things that you do. There's a lot of option there on your remote, and of course you could use those options for however you decide to be here with us on a Saturday morning, and for other programs as well throughout the day and throughout the week. And so once again, we just want to thank you so much. Right now we're looking at about 41 degrees in Metro Detroit, about 39 to 40 degrees at the Metro Airport. We're looking for today about 50. It's going to be kind of chilly. We had some rain, drizzle early this morning. It should basically move off to the east, as I understand, and sunshine coming in. And as I said before, it's going to be kind of chilly, about 50 degrees for the high. On Sunday, about 59 degrees on Sunday. No rain in the forecast, nothing like that. It should be a beautiful day tomorrow. And then on Monday, we're talking about 70 degrees. That's right, the big 7-0. 70 degrees on Monday. Isn't that something? I mean, it pure 70 degrees. No rain, nothing coming with it. It's going to be all by itself. The sunshine all by itself. And so we might even, I think somewhere around the Thursday or Friday or next week, we may be looking at around 80 degrees. So maybe, just maybe, that spring has really got here. But nevertheless, my sister, as my grandmother would say, any day above ground, it is a good day. So today is a good day. And once again, we just thank you so much for being with us. As you know, Bill Cosby has been convicted, the verdict has come in, as you know by now, and of course that all three accounts of conviction, and facing, I get it out pretty soon, facing about 30 years in prison. He's 80 years old, and of course the second trial, basically the judge allowed some other women to come in and testify against him on behalf of the other lady. And of course, I think that was really the straw that broke the camel's back. And perhaps this might be where the appeal will take place. I'm not trying to play lawyer. Only law I know is Matlock and Perry Mason. But I'm just saying to you is that it seems that's probably where the appeal will come in regards to what the judge allowed to come into the courtroom, and in terms, and I'm not sitting here trying to judge or anything like that. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy as to whether or not they should take the Bill Cosby program off television. I think right now, I think I saw it on yesterday as I was going through the channels on TV1. Sometimes you see it on BET, and sometimes you see it on Bounce. So the question, of course, is that there's a movement as to that all of his programming, whether it's I Spy or whatever he participated in, it should be removed. And of course, that's what I want to talk about this morning for this first hour, and just to get your point, your feeling about Bill Crosby, and whether or not they should move his programming off television, because he does get residuals from from the programs, and of course, that's what many people are feeling like that. That's the talk, and that's what's being discussed as we speak. And so I want to know what you think about that, of course, about the conviction itself, whether or not they should take Bill Cosby program off the television because of the conviction and what he was convicted for, and of course they're using other men who basically have been not convicted, far as that's concerned, in many cases, where they're no longer doing movies, no longer doing television, no longer participating in this particular, whether it's news broadcasts or anything like that, that they have been taken off the television and radio, and so should this happen to Bill Cosby as well. So I wanted to bring that up to you this morning, have your opportunity for you to talk to us in regards to what you think, whether or not they should take the program, all Bill Cosby programs, off of television because of this conviction that took place 3 or 4 days ago. He was convicted on all 3 counts, and of course, as I said before, that the lawyers have indicated that they're definitely going to appeal. And of course, the Me Too movement is celebrating. And again, as I said before, I'm not here to try to make judgment on anything or anyone. I'm just basically bringing it up to you for discussion this morning. And I think you should have something to say in regards to it, and that we should indeed participate in this discussion whether or not Bill Cosby programs ought to be removed, and that because of this conviction. And of course, many people are pointing out that that you got other people that's on the program, Bill Cosby television series. Obviously, he was the dead of the decade, and offered a great programming, very positive programming that. When you talk about Sanford and Son, you talk about Good Times, but then when you come over to Bill Cosby, where his wife was a lawyer, he was a doctor, and so that was contrast to what Sanford and Son and Good Times and programs like that. Again, it had a lot of morals and basically in terms of their subject matter, and basically participating in various issues that was going on at the particular time. And so I'm just saying to you is they should. What about those people? That are in the cast. Should they be punished because of what is going on in his life? That's one of the questions that's been asked, and I thought maybe you might want to have a conversation in regards to that as well. Should it be taken off the air? Should it just be a viewer's choice? If he goes on, the viewer makes the choice of whether or not to watch it or not. And of course, as I indicated to you, the whole thing about the other characters that's on the program, should they be punished because of the convictions that has taken place with Bill Cosby? Caller, thank you for being there. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Reverend Hollery.
Yes, how are you?
All right. I think that since they have proven there's no statute of limitations, that they can make up a number in clear air and say that they beat the time limit of that statute, that maybe they should start going after the other folks that are still snaking and raping communities, children, people, families, elderly. We need to go after them and start discrediting, defaming, and taking their names off of buildings and projects that they did that was supposedly meant for good. This is another witch hunt to defame, to profile. Obviously, the stories that had surfaced about this man getting ready to purchase a network, maybe he was getting ready to do something great, like wake up the sleeping giant,
Right.
to understand and know who the real corporates are and who the real people that demonize, criminalize, ostracize
Right.
are doing to the masses of the people to keep us divided, numb, dumb, and broke,
Yeah.
and brokenhearted.
Right.
Thank you for taking my
Yeah,
call.
and I thank you for the call. If you're listening to the call and what she's making reference to, that when this came about several years ago, because this has been going on for several years now in terms of Bill Cosby, that the rumor is that they went after him because he was making a bid for one of the networks, and this is one of the ways for them to stop him from bidding and participating in the bid or participating in the purchase of one of the networks. I've heard that. I think the other thing, of course, is that I think there was some station, it was ABC or CBS, that basically had about 27 women that were on a panel or on a stage talking about the fact that he had done the same thing to them at one time or another. And of course, so I guess again, it's kind of hard to really make an argument that that's really why that they went after him. Of course, a lot of us just felt like it was not true until you really hear in all these women that came up and began to testify in one way or the other, not in court so much, but just basically on social media. And so again, like I said, is that he's been convicted, and we understand that he's been convicted. Many of us who really not grew up with him, but basically appreciated his effort and the contributions that he made in that television and the whole sequence of as I said before, in terms of bringing to the public that there was not just only people like Sanford and Son and Good Times, but there was also basically the people that the professional people like the doctor and the lawyer. So again, and you just feel so bad about it all because you really understood the contributions that he made. And again, like I said, I'm not here to pass judgment one way or the other, and I'm just here to basically have an opportunity for you to try to ignite some response from you as to whether or not, as I said before, there's a movement now to take the program, all of his programming off of television as a way, or if they do allow it, and wherever the residuals that will come as a result of reruns, that it would go to what they said to a fund that basically for victims. All these kind of things are going on as we speak. And again, like I said before, I just thought maybe you might want to have an input in terms of the whole Bill Cosby situation that's going on in his life and in his family's life, and of course and when it comes down to show business. The numbers again, 868-0342, 868-0351, and 336. The area code is still the same, 313. And again, as I said before, that I mean, you're 80 years old, and they're talking about a 30 years in prison, and again, like I said before, and obviously, I just. Well, I think if the appeal can go on and on and on, and but I was wondering whether or not they're going to let him go home. People can be a lot of people that basically are convicted on things like this go straight to jail, but they have him under house arrest, and but I was really because sometimes these people really try to make a example out of you, or basically try to really embarrass you. And so I was just glad that he was able to go home, because again, as I understand it, when I talked to a couple of lawyers, that normally they will take you straight to jail from that conviction of that kind. But then, of course, he had something to say to the prosecutor that basically was trying to keep him from going home, and felt like he was a fight risk. And he had given up his passport already. He told the prosecutor that basically that I have no planes or anything like that. You got my passport, and then he called him a name, and of course, out of frustration, I'm sure that when you go through all of that, and has been done for several years now. And it comes to this point where you feel like, you're humiliated, and you feel like then you are so embarrassed and so forth. And of course, as I said before, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to other than to try to get you, which I don't, I guess for the most part, doesn't seem that you're that interested in responding to the verdict. But nevertheless, I do think it's very important that we have this kind of conversation that's going on all over the country as we speak. Once again, Jim Hollery with you on this Saturday morning, and we thank God for each and every one of you. We'll take a break in a couple of minutes here, and basically pay some of our pay respect to some of our sponsors this morning. One of the things I want to talk about this morning as well, my sisters and brothers, that it was 2 weeks ago, the newspaper reported that we're the worst. Our school system is one of the worst in the nation, one of the worst in the nation. And I brought this up to you a couple of weeks ago and tried to basically let you know that indeed what you already know in terms of the news itself. But I think my dilemma is this: is that nobody's talking about it. I mean, you don't have no press conference as what we're going to do about it. I know that the superintendent indicated that he was obviously going to address it. That's why they brought him here to do just that. But when it comes down to community, it's almost like. And then the other day, and I got the statistics here on the newspaper reported that we have the lowest poverty rate in the city of Detroit, and basically urban Michigan. And again, it seems like there's no press conference, there's no outcry in terms of that we are the worst in the country in terms of education, that we are the worst in terms of our what's going on with indeed with the poverty rate, and that the city is coming back according to the law article, but the people are not. And again, there's no really outcry. I mean, it's amazing to me, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, Well, Reverend, what do you want me to? What you want us to do? What you want us to say? You know, but it's somehow some kind. It's almost like, if we have the 300 homicides, we basically, we just go on. Just go on, and the church just continue to go on, and politicians just seem to go on. It's almost like we're getting to the point where we're immune to all these kind of situations in terms of what's going on in this city and in this community. I was listening. I try to listen to WJR to their talk in the morning, and then I try to listen to 9, 10 a.m. Radio and listen to those hosts and the various conversations that people call in to try to feel what's going on, and then in terms of evaluating our audience when you call in and really make comments and so forth, and you try to put all that stuff together in your system, in your spirit, in terms of how in the world, my system, can we continue to live like this without trying to do something about it from a community standpoint. I mean, this guy that's that's superintendent of schools, he can't do this by himself. He can't do this by himself. I don't care what, there's no superintendent and no teacher can do this by themselves. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us. And then as far as education, and then we're talking about the fact is that the home for the poor, we're running out, and that people really are out of their homes, and because of these foreclosures and so forth, but because people have bought these homes. And they have basically bought them with the intention of really fixing them up and keeping people in their homes, and then to turn around and sell the homes for 2 or 3 times. You buy them for 18,000. You sell them to somebody for 30,000. This guy sells them to somebody for 60,000, and you're talking about 50, 100, 150, 200 homes. Multiply that. And so it becomes economical. It's economically driven, and really not people driven, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair. But yet, we sit here and we continue to basically just go on as if this stuff is not even happening. That is not even happening. We'll be right back.
I will say a little prayer for you, and I will always care for you. Hello, Detroit.
There is not another culinary or hospitality academy located in the city of Detroit.
There's a lot of people teaching culinary arts, but they're not teaching the business side of it.
We're opening up another kitchen for the Cleary Culinary Academy. We're going to bring a Cleary mind to every kitchen in downtown Detroit.
But when we talk about Cleary mind, we're talking about a student that can make a definite impact.
We want to be a part of all the wonderful food establishments, restaurants, and the food scene in general in downtown Detroit.
I've always been interested in driving. When I was in the service, I drove a stick shift truck. After being retired, I got tired of sitting around. It's time for me to get back maneuvering something on the road. I'm back in school again. I seen the sign out there, said truck CDL. I'm in school trying to get me an associate degree. One reason I quit school years ago, I'm a slow learner. But once I learn things, I can pick it up. But I can pick more so up on hands-on. The technology is different for me. It's a difference between driving a straight back truck or a stick shift car. And the semi-truck amazes me. This is a program that advances knowledge. I'm determined to get an education. Get you a skill and a trade. Live life. Enjoy it.
You've seen him on the red carpet, you've seen him on the sidelines, you've seen him on the stage. The hottest looks in urban fashion from the biggest name in urban fashion, Van Dyke's. Now pick out 3, pay for 1. 3 suits for 1. Van Dyke's, 10 Mile and Southfield Road. You've seen him at the clubs, you've seen him in the boardroom, you've seen him on the pulpit. Now get them at Van Dyke's. 3 suits for 1. Suits for the workplace, for the club scene, to be seen in. Pick out 3, pay for 1. Van Dyke's, 10 Mile and Southfield Road.
I will say a little prayer for you, and I will always care for you. Hello, Detroit.
And once again, we thank you so much for being with us here on this Saturday morning, 33 minutes after the hour. As I indicated to you, the highest day is going to be about 50 today. No rain. The rain is basically going to kind of dissipate and move off to the east. And so it's going to be chilly, though. You got to have don't be going out there trying to look cute. This is more chilly out there, and then kind of wet, kind of chilly as well. But it'll be high to be about 50. Right now, we're talking about 43, 44 degrees on both sides of the street. On Sunday, about 59 degrees tomorrow. And then on Monday, around 80 degrees. Isn't that something? I mean, from 40 to 50 to 80 in 2.5 days. But that's the way it is here in Michigan. But nevertheless, every day is a good day, and we say good morning to you, and we thank God for you. If you're just joining us, it's Jim Hollery with you here. Telephone numbers are right there on your television screen. And what we're basically coming to earlier I was talking about Bill Cosby, if you're just joining us, and wanted to know what your thoughts was in terms of the verdict, and in terms of the fact that many people are now, there's a movement to all of his programming, whether it's I Spy or whether it is the Bill Cosby show that ran for about 8 or 10 years, that they want to move that as for punishment. It was not only punishment in the courtroom, but trying to make sure that he doesn't get any residuals from the show. And I raised the question of what about the other people that's on the show? That should they be punished because you want to punish him? And of course, here's a man who's 80 years old, and of course that they're talking about a 30-year doing time, about 30 years. And but he's already, lawyers indicated they will appeal, and I think they will, and that appeal can go on for several years, and he may not spend any time in jail. But I thought that you might want to have a conversation, or at least a couple of observation in regards to what they were trying to do after the verdict, and how you felt about that. And then I moved now for the rest of the show to talk about the fact that 2 weeks ago I came to you and I indicated to you that, and which you knew already in terms of the paper and the report and that came out about Detroit basically ranking bottom when it comes down to education. And where we rank in education, and basically not only where we rank in education, but you know the scores, how terrible they are in terms of our elementary school, and then you're talking about the dropout and that kind of a thing. And so it talks about the fact that Detroit schools score worse in the nation again, but the superintendent vows that he will make a change, and I think that, you know, that I know he wants to, but I think the point is, my sisters and brothers, that he can't do it by himself, and the teachers can't do it by themselves. And I really feel like that we ought to have some conversation, because one of the things I really think we're going to have to do is basically is really get into the culture here in our community, and that when you look and see what's going on in our homes, what's going on in our community, and how children pass all this vacant lots, and being the depression that's all around, going to school, to and from school, that indeed that has something to do with it. I think the fact is that many of our children basically are without food, without lights, and all these kind of things, and that it's more than just going in the schoolroom and just having the teacher to teach you. You know, you got to be mentally and for lack of a better word, spiritually ready for teaching. You got to have an appetite for learning, and a lot of times, and then of course, many times our teachers can't really manage this classroom, because a lot of our young people, for the most part, are unmanageable when they come to school. And then you got parents who basically participate in the unmanagement. And so I just want to talk to you about it this morning, and see what your thoughts are, and what can we do? What can we do to help? It's amazing to me that there's no outcry in terms that Detroit is the worst in the nation, and when it comes down to scoring in math skills and science skills and reading skills, those kind of things, and there's no outcry. Well, Reverend, what you want us to do? I just feel like that the various leaders will get together with the superintendent, and let's have a conversation as to what can we do? How can we help? How can the church help? How can the nonprofit entities help? How can the parents help? And what can we do in terms of parenting? My sisters and brothers, let me tell you something. We're going to lose this battle if we don't get this thing together. I was talking to a Jewish family, and they were indicating that their babies go to school at 18 months. It's called toddling, like a TODDLER, something like that, toddling. I'm sorry if I can't say it, but pronounce it right. But 18 months, and I'm just saying to you, is they start there, and how are we going to compete with that? How are you going to compete with that? And we have to. The East Indian, I was talking to this lady about how they deal with she was saying that in India, parents basically, in order to sacrifice for their kids to go to school, if they live in a tent, they would sell the tent in order to really have their children to get the best education, because basically that's what India did. They went into understanding that you got to educate your way out of this stuff. And so I bring that into you a couple of weeks ago, and now a couple of days ago, they told me Detroit, Metro Detroit poverty gets worse in spite of the city's comeback. If you look at the poorest areas in America, despite economic growth and prosperity, it puts Detroit basically at the top of the list. That for the most part, in terms of the worst in terms of poverty, and so again, so there is no outcry in regards to this. What can we do? We continue, in my humble opinion, to basically feel like this stuff is just going to go away just talking about it. And the only reason why I'm talking about it is because I'm trying to get you to urge you to really participate, not in terms of just talking, but what can we do in order to turn these things around. I brought to you a couple of weeks ago in regards to the fact that where African Americans are doing the best economically, and Detroit is not in there. It's not in that list, but Forbes' list. And so we're not doing well economically, and the reason why we're not doing well economically as African Americans is because of the fact of the school situation and the poverty situation. And it seems like and then as I indicated to you, what we're talking about also is that a lot of our people, for the most part, are becoming homeless because of all this foreclosure and buying up houses that people are in these houses and abandon these people. You know, investors from Germany and Canada and Japan and China, they don't give a good hot chocolate about who's in the house. It's economically driven. It's not people driven. And somehow, some kind of way, my sisters and brothers, we got to deal with this. We just can't sit here and just act like this stuff is just going to go away. You know, and so if the superintendent is indicated, and I think that if we give him a chance, he'll make a difference, but he can't do it by himself. I personally think we need people that go, social workers to go into these homes. We need a social worker, a active, vibrant social worker program in our schools that will help and see what's going on and how we can help these families. You and I know that we've always, as African Americans, felt like education has always been a priority for us. It's not just for the Jewish and not Jewish people or for the East Indians, but it's for us. We've always had a priority for education. Always. Every millage that we basically was put in front of us, we passed it. And I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, what's going on now? What's different now? So this superintendent can't do this by himself. The board can't do it by themselves. So what can we do to help? What can we really do to help? And you and I know that indeed that there's a lot of drama that goes into education. That they don't that the people like Betty DeVos, people like that have no idea of what's going on in our community. You know, and it has to go from down, but it got to go from bottom up and not top down. And so again, I wanted to have some conversation with you, if you don't mind, in regards to what's going on and how we should respond to this stuff. How should we respond to this stuff? If it's education, and we had fourth grade math for 4% of Detroit students score at or above proficiency, compared to 36% statewide. The fourth grade reading is 5% of the Detroit students, in spite of 32% statewide. The eighth grade math, 5% of Detroit, and basically compared to the 31% statewide. The eighth grade reading is 7% of Detroit students, compared to the 34% statewide. And again, you know, it would seem like when you have statistics like this and a report that comes out, in the next 2 or 3 days, that all of the leadership and with the superintendent will come together and say, look, we're gonna deal with this. We're gonna deal with this. And I'm just saying to you, my sister and brother, as a minister that's been doing this thing for about 45 years, a pastor, and active in community affairs, I'm just saying to you is that there's more to education than just going into a classroom. It's a lot going on in our homes, and these children have they have no control over it. They have no control over it. You got to be prepared mentally and spiritually and physically to get to cause when you get to a classroom that I want to learn, that I got an appetite to learn, and yet and somehow somewhere we got to make sure that how can we do this? And I think we need to. My humble opinion is that we need social workers. Find money for social workers. I'm sure there might be one or two or three social workers that's in the Detroit public school system, but I'm talking about a full department, basically that really works in the Detroit public school system to try to make sure if there's no lights in the house for whatever reason. There's no water in the house for whatever reason. You know, that not only do we not only have a single parent, but the single parent is not there. You know, and that then you have where many of our young people from week to week is moving, and their addresses change every other week. And why does it happen? Why does it happen? Why does it happen? We should know those kind of things. If we go, let me tell you something, my sister, but nobody's going to help us but us. We got to understand that. Nobody's going to help us but us. And so then you got this whole situation, as I indicated to you, if I come out with that, then they talk about now that Detroit's poverty gets worse in spite of the city's comeback. And then there's a report that I don't have it with me here, that indeed over 200 homes were sold, was taken, and City Council approved it, and the people basically had the 200 homes, and many of them was sold to somebody else, and then somebody else sold them, and so it maybe went to about 3 or 4 hands. You know, and when you get to that third or fourth hand, they don't give a good hot chocolate who's in the house. You just get evicted. And should we not be concerned about that? Should we not be concerned about that? And I'm just saying to you, is my sisters and brothers, that I just feel that there's an urgency that we are at a point of urgent that we need to be take notice of this and just think that indeed that this stuff is going to go away. It's just not, and we just basically having church anyhow, praising God anyhow, just going on anyhow. Whatever group you belong to, we just go on anyhow. No accountability, no accountability whatsoever. Caller, thank you for calling. How are you this morning?
Reverend Holly, I have to call back. The problem is the help needs to educate to liberate. We keep blaming the mother, father, the families, the people, the teachers. We keep blaming everybody but the root of the evil. If you look up CAFA, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, there is a document called CAFA Swindle. It's a documentary called CAFA Swindle. They are taking your tax dollars and telling you that they don't have a budget for your school, for your roads, for your safety, for your protection. They're telling you they don't have a budget. But the hard money is in the CAFA account. So if you look up CAFA Swindle, you'll find out that your government, along with corporations, are investing your tax dollars in offshores, domestic foreign stock markets. It's so much money built up in these accounts that if you never pay taxes again, they could still fill your schools and keep them open, educate your children, feed the poor. Stop. All they doing is what I call man-made poverty and keeping you dumbed down, financially illiterate, so that you don't know where your money is going. If you don't know where your tax dollars is going, they can tell you anything and and do anything to you. So until you get to the root of this evil and get an outside forensic audit on these CAFA accounts that's supposed to serve and protect and build our schools and not mothball them and close them down and tell them that you're the dummies because you can't learn nothing after they done sucked and drained your swamps of any resources for you to get a bootstrap and pull yourself up.
All right.
We must be educated to liberate ourselves out of this criminal elites that keep us dumbed down, and blaming the wrong people. We're blaming the oppressed and praising the oppressors. We're allowing their crimes to go blind by making it look like it's us that's in the cause of our condition. They know the condition, our condition, because they caused it.
All right,
But
thank you.
look up for yourself, tap a window, and you will see where your dollars are going and why this word budget is just something they pulled a rabbit out of their hat to say they don't never have.
All right, thank you so much. Call you in touch, Harry, this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Rev.
Yes.
In some instances, it sounds like you're blaming the victims. Poverty pulls the trigger. Poverty is the worst form of violence. Poverty is not by accident; it's by design.
Yeah, but
Do you know 1 in 10 children in New York are homeless?
Yeah,
Do you understand how devastating it is? It's for children to be homeless, going from one house to another house.
Yeah, but how am I?
The superintendent, he makes over $200,000 a year. All the people in the government, they taking our tax dollars, making over $200,000 a year, and you can't solve any problem.
Okay.
And I do agree with you that I can go to a classroom and look at the children who are unkempt, who are dirty, who are nasty, who have cleanliness problems, and they should have somebody at the school that can separate those kids and go and see, honey, what conditions are you at? Let us come to the house and see how things are, where we can help you at. They got money for that. We got $750 billion for the military.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, they cut Medicaid, Medicare. You all going to sit around here and not get in these streets? You're not going to have no Social Security because it's a secret government that want to take away all of FDR's plans that he has for people.
Okay.
You understand me? They want to take all of these things, Social Security, unemployment, all of this away from the people of the United States. And to spend $750 billion to kill poor people?
Okay.
And we don't have decent schools, and you blaming us?
All right. I don't know how am I blaming us by asking us, basically, as ministers and politicians and people come together to see how we can get ourselves out of this mess? How am I blaming us? How am I blaming us that that the leadership to come together and help? I mean, how do I blame us when the fact is that we know that we have problems in our homes and that we need to address? That we need to address. And so how am I blaming it? How am I blaming us? I am saying that indeed that it's us that basically is going to have to take care of us. And that us is whether it is city council, whether it's city clerk, whether it's Wayne County council, or Wayne County treasurer, or the Wayne County executive, or the mayor, or the preachers. All of us are in this thing, and we ought to be there to help the people who can't help themselves. And I'm just saying to you, how am I blaming us? How am I blaming the victim? I'm trying to say that those of us, like myself, can help somebody else. And so how am I a victim? All of us are not victims. All black people are not victims. We talk about $1.9 trillion disposable income. How in How in the heck can that be a victim? How can that be a victim? And all I'm saying to you is that when you basically sit around and you see the scores that's going on in our school system, and it's got to be a reason for it. And we ought to basically attacking whether the reason it is. I don't think we even know what the reason is. But we ought to be at least doing everything to find out what is the reason. And I'm saying to you that the superintendent can't do it by himself. The board can't do it by himself. It takes all of us. It takes all of us. I'm not blaming the victim. And I'm just saying to you is that when you talk about the government, you know, they do have a responsibility. They do have a responsibility. But again, if the government gave you everything you need money-wise, I'm not quite sure that indeed that's just it. We need that plus other things. It comes with money. You know, some 50 billion with the B has been given out to poverty program, and we're still poor. And so if downtown is doing well, Court Town is doing well, Midtown is doing well, what about the neighbor? What are we going to do about the neighborhood? And should we not be sitting and trying to see what else can be done in order to get these neighbors' hoods back together again? And I'm just saying to you is that this you come at me with all this rhetoric and stuff. I've been on the air for an hour and a half, and you just been watching the program for the last 3 minutes, and you're gonna say that I'm basically blaming the victim. I'm just saying to you, as my son brother, that indeed that we, as black people, that basically are in position to help other blacks. That's what we ought to be doing, including myself. I didn't get here where I am by myself. Somebody helped me to get here. I spoke to a high school the other day, and they were all seniors, you know. And I ran this video that you see me come on the air with, and I had them to stand and sing lift every voice and sing and try to identify the people that's in the video. You know, and I know many of you don't even see the video because for whatever reason you don't turn in until, you know, after the show starts. But they couldn't invent. The only thing they identified was Obama, President Obama. But all from the stage ship all the way that struggle that we've been through, they had no idea. And so we talked about that. They're not even interested. They're not even interested. And I'm just saying to you, my son, brother, we got work to do. And these are supposed to be some of the brightest young people that they had me speaking to and that we were talking to. And I'm just saying to you is, again, we got work to do. And it's not just other people. We got to do the work. So I'm not blaming victims. I feel like people like myself and others are in position to help somebody. We ought to do that. And anytime you got these kinds of statistics coming out about the school system, and we're not mad, and we're not going into the superintendent and say, what can we do? We're not going to the superintendent's office and say, man, what can we do? What can we do to help you? You know, and then you have here where the Detroit poverty gets worse, even though the city is coming back, and so don't we have an obligation to basically to address this as leadership? Those of us who think that we're leaders, should we not address this from an educational standpoint, from economics, social, psychological, all these terms that we use to really talk about how we can get ourselves together? And you want to. Let me tell you something, my son. Why should other people be worried? This is us. East Indians worried about East Indians. Jewish worried about Jewish. And we're basically we're more worried about other people than we're worried about ourselves and our own kids, our own children. Caller, you in touch? Hurry this morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Yes.
My thing is, I have a grandson that started the kindergarten. Since he started, and he learns, because we teaches him at home, and I wouldn't want no social worker just coming to our house because, you know, we're going to fall under that umbrella if you start that. But since he started, he had 6 teachers